really on whether we pursue building a dog kennel, a dog holding area here on the town hall campus or at another town-owned site. We've been talking that possibly the highway garage. This option was in a workshop presented by Keith Mortimer, our town engineer, and also by Barbara Hollins, our animal control officer, 2 weeks ago. It was in the minutes that we just approved. It was a pretty robust conversation. It was a 38-minute workshop presentation with questions, answers, whatever. And it really came down, and we explained at that time, a lot of where we got to this point, I'll say in society, or at least in Monroe County, where towns are now trying to figure out what to do with their the dogs that the animal control officer picks up. Because previous to 2022, we had basically that outsourced to Pittsford Animal Hospital, and we all lived happily ever after. Pittsford Animal Hospital said, we've given you 3 months notice, we're out of that business. And that move made not just the town of Webster scramble for what to do with these, what is about 24 dogs a year to a month, but every other town in Monroe County. And all the town supervisors went to the county executive and said, we're really got a problem here. And some towns are like, it's not a problem, we get 1 dog a year. Other towns are like, Irondequoit, I think it's 80 or 100 dogs a year, so it was really going to be tough on them. We were pitching the county to take it over instead of having 19 towns try to have 19 animal control officers, because people like Barb Hollins don't grow on trees. And so to have 19 of them is very tough. We thought, could we get this at the county level and then quadrant it up, blah, 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 blah. It didn't go anyplace. So then the town said, well, what are we going to do? And so Barbara drove a process of going to ags and markets, agriculture and markets, and we applied for a grant back, in February of 2024. And in April of 24, about 15, 16 months ago, we got awarded a $400,000 grant. That's the good news. Then we went and looked at, I'm not making this up for the people that are hearing this first, we went to look at designing and getting cost estimates on and this is not a misquote, 1,000 square foot facility. You know how big your house is, right? A 1,000 square foot dog house, basically. $1 million. And so the board said, whoa, wait a minute, $400,000 grant, that's nice, but net of that grant, the town taxpayers are going to have to pay $600,000 for this facility, where historically, over the last 3.5 years, we average about 2 dogs a month. So that got us kind of looking at different designs, and this was all presented 2 weeks ago. But we also, and Councilman Cahill somewhat drove this a couple months ago, saying, well, let's look at a plan B. And actually I say he did, and Keith Mortimer, our town engineer, who's facility management. And so they started looking at that IMA. Now that's something, an outsourcing it to another town. Considering going to an Irondequoit or a Penfield or an abutting town and saying, hey, if you got a kennel and facilities, could we maybe send our 2 dogs a month over there and cut a deal with you? And this was something that Barb Hollins had gone out 2 years ago and looked at, and at that point, it didn't look like from her research that it had any legs, and that led us to going for our own kennel in the grant, and I won't be redundant. But the town board, as was said here a lot tonight by the residents who were here, like, hey, we're hired or elected to take care of the town and watch out for the town's citizens. And I've said this many times from this podium. I would argue that the most important job of the town board, it's not a state legislator or a county legislator or a state assemblyman or a congressperson. Those are different jobs, but our job is to be the steward of your taxpayer money. So when we looked at that and said, wow, $600,000 for a 1,000 square foot dog house, is that justifiable? And in a lot of ways, that's a subjective question, right? That's a subjective question for people that love animals and this and that. They would say, absolutely, you should spend $6 million. Other people have come back to us and said, are you crazy to even think about doing that? So it's been a very tough situation over the last 15 months as we've discerned this. But tonight is the night where the board has gone back and forth and this and that. And I will say that, you know, I can make this motion, or does somebody else want to make it? I have no problems making it. Looks like
Go right ahead.
you guys are not sick in hearing my voice?
A little bit, but
Okay, well, I make a motion for town governance, including Keith Mortimer as the facility manager and Barb Hollins as the animal control officer, and any chosen team members of theirs to pursue with other municipalities an intermunicipal agreement option for housing our stray dogs.
I'll second that.
Supervisor Flaherty.
Aye.
Councilman Cahill.
Aye.
Councilwoman Cataldi.
aye.
Councilwoman Nguyen.
Aye, and I would like to say something here, because everybody here in Webster know that, you know, we all love dogs. And as I went, you know, door to door, I saw the kindness toward their pets and the care for them. And I think with Councilman Cahill, you know, is heading for the IMA for the best solution, is to save a lot of money for the taxpayer, since we only have 2 less dogs a week, you know, a month actually, for shelter. And I have a suggestion. I think that, you know, we have been doing business with Penfield Ambulance since Webster, with Webster, and they do such a great job. Then, you know, this is a great way for us to look into other towns to participate and to save the town's money. And also too, I know that there is the local government efficiency grant that administrated by the New York Department of State. Local government, each town can get up to $200,000 per project. If Webster, Penfield, or Ironico, or whoever could join together, and each town could have $200,000 for each town. So, and these applications could go through the CFA portal, and I'm hope that, you know, we should look into that.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Wright.
Aye.
Is that everybody? Yeah. Okay. I thought, sure. Postmortem on that. I will get together with Dennis Kohlmeyer, who is the chief of police, the police department oversees animal control. I will also get together with Barb Hollins as the animal control officer, who has a very close relationship with ags and markets. I get together with Kyle, who is the town legal counsel, and we need to, within the next week, in my opinion, communicate to ags and market that we will not be moving forward with a redesigned submission into them, nor will we be pursuing signing the contract. I think they sent us the contract template back in February or March of this year, and they now, it took them a year, doesn't matter, they now are like, hey, what's your hold up? Why has it been 4 or 5 months since we sent it to you? It's just the right way to treat people. Even if they're in a government agency, we need to let them know, as far as I'm concerned, by the end of next week. But the way in which we will let them know, I think that needs to be discussed and measured and all of that stuff, so.
I think it's unfortunate that we have to give back or decline a large grant like that, and I appreciate, Barb, your work in going out and securing that grant. It's just really tough. It's like $600,000 is an awful lot of money. It's probably going to be even more than that at the end of the day. And hopefully more towns actually who can afford it will build kennels and it'll allow for the 19 towns in Monroe County to work with each other, meaning we can have an IMA with multiple townships to make it easier to manage that, so.
And government in Albany looks very favorably upon municipalities working together.
That's why they have the grants out there.
Right.
Anyway,
Thank you, Tom.
thank you, everybody. Very tough.